Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be giving you a full tour of the Christian Dior Designer of Dreams exhibition in London. As I'm sure most of you know, Christian Dior is a French fashion designer who founded one of the world's greatest fashion houses under his own name in 1946. For those of you who don't know, after Christian passed away, his assistant Yves Saint Laurent succeeded him as creative director of the house. Since then, the house has been led by 5 other creative directors and currently has its first female, Grazia Chiuri. Rather than walk through the chronological history of the house, this exhibition takes you through the key aspects of Christian's life and how these have been translated by the past and present creative directors. So, each room will feature and contrast the design aesthetics of each of the directors, who often brought their own flair to the collections. Also, every piece in the exhibit is haute couture, meaning exclusive, custom-created high fashion that is completely handmade. Outside the exhibition, there is a timeline that chronicles key events in the house's history, from Christian Dior's birth to this present exhibit. The first room of the exhibit is this beautiful setting that features Christian Dior's bar suit and jacket from his first haute couture collection. This is the signature silhouette and iconic garment that defined Dior's aesthetic. This silhouette was characterized by the dramatic fullness of the skirt, contrasted with an ample bust and tightly nipped-in waist that really accentuated the female figure. This look was revolutionary at the time, as fashion was very much constrained by the restraints of the Second World War, which had led to boxy clothing and fabric rations. So, when Christian debuted these voluptuous skirts requiring many yards of fabric and figure-hugging jackets, it polarized audiences. Some felt the extravagance was obscene, whilst others praised it heavily, one editor even coining the term the new look. Along the walls we are also presented with items from Christian's personal life and vintage footage of his initial collections. Further on we see how creative directors have reinterpreted this iconic piece in their collections. On top we have this more dramatic and draped piece by Gianfranco Ferre. And then on the bottom, quite the contrast with a tightly structured interpretation by John Galliano. Whilst here the skirt may seem more modest than the original, the decadence comes with the crocodile skin fabric used. On the other side we have a more signature Galliano reinterpretation, featuring a more theatrical perspective. Here you can see the underskirt and horsehair used to structure and reinforce the skirt, whilst on the bottom we have a stark contrast again with Maria Grazia's more recent and modern interpretation. You will see as we go through the collection, the curators really like to contrast the aesthetics of creative directors, specifically Galliano and Chiuri, in a way that really makes you analyse both of their aesthetics and relate them back to Christian Dior, which is very exciting and thought-provoking. Moving into the next room, we are presented with a stunning array of quintessential Christian Dior garments. Seeing these pieces up close really speaks to Christian Dior's love and focus on accentuating the female figure. It's clear that his designs played with structure and proportion to create clothing that expresses an attitude. Each collection he released was named in accordance to the dominant silhouette he chose to highlight. Christian's revolutionary silhouettes were often met with mixed opinions from critics who would sometimes accuse him of flattening a woman's natural shape. As a response, he arranged a photo shoot with Jane Russell, a Hollywood star famous for her shapely figure. She wore his Mazette suit to prove its allure on all body types. Seeing the garments up close is such a pleasure because you're able to appreciate small details like here the underskirt pattern resembles roses, which could be a coincidence or a link to Christian's love for flowers and gardening. The next room introduces us to Christian's obsession with Britain, having a deep appreciation for the country's history and fashion. As an upcoming couturier, he developed strong relationships with a variety of English debutantes. This leads us to the centerpiece, a beautiful custom dress Christian designed for Princess Margaret's 21st birthday. The dress features golden straw embroidery adapted from a previous haute couture collection. Behind this we can see a range of dresses Christian designed for British clients, from wedding dresses to birthday ensembles. Christian had gained significant support in Britain, particularly after showcasing several collections in grand country houses, and eventually established a business there to produce ready-to-wear versions of his haute couture pieces that were heavily sought after. In this next room we are introduced to the historicism that featured heavily in Christian's work. Christian Dior often cited historic periods in his design, and this has been replicated by his successors. As demonstrated in this extravagant Galliano piece, the sumptuous silks and dramatic silhouettes of the 18th century held a particular fascination for Christian. Here we can see Maria and Raf referencing 18th century dress and prints through their designs. From embroidery to embellishment and draping, these references are consistent throughout the house's history. Moving to the centre of the room, we are seeing further designs that balance 18th century embellishments with contemporary necklines and detailing. The white and grey panelling of the garments are reference to the Petit Triomphe at Versailles, a shade of grey Dior is said to have revived. To the left, we are presented with fitted bodices and elegantly draped fabrics, further evoking the lavish style of the court dress worn at Versailles and the decor and decorative arts of this period. I think this room is one of the first times in the exhibit where you really see a contrast in the designers, specifically with Galliano. If you visit this in person, it's really entertaining to hear how many people make comments about, "You can tell that's Galliano," or "Of course it's one of Galliano." It's very clear that his theatricality and drama sticks out from the other designers and makes his collections really distinct. And while some see this as inspirational, I was surprised to find many attendees view this as distasteful. The next room was dedicated to Christian Dior's love for travel. From the launch of his first collection, he looked to incorporate inspirations from architecture, landscapes, art and textiles of different countries and cities, and would name his dresses after these locations. What I find really interesting is the exhibit noted that in the 21st century there has been a call for more consideration over what can be seen as cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. The exhibit states that Maria Grazia Chiuri is currently navigating this conversation through close collaboration with cultural representatives in her cruise collections. This is intriguing because, of course, looking around the room, clearly there are outfits and collections that would be deemed culturally appropriative, and acknowledging that now, when that information and understanding is more widespread, is very important. But Maria has come under fire recently for her failure to engage and involve cultural representatives in the design and production of her cruise collections, and has come across as engaging in cultural appropriation. So I'm glad this is acknowledged, but I think there is still progress to be made here. So immediately on the right we can see the first location is Mexico, and here we can see the traditional prints and patterns being presented in a more modern garment with Maria's latest cruise collection, whilst Christian Dior focused more on elevating cultural garments and embellishments with his signature silhouette and construction. Next, we are presented with these gorgeous garments that use embellishment techniques and vibrant fabrics inspired by the rich textile traditions of India. Saris and draped fabrics are strongly evoked in Christian's evening dresses. Later, Marc Bohan would stage fashion shows in Mumbai and Delhi, and later create an Indian collection. Now moving to Japan, Dior often favoured textiles with Japanese motifs and would take inspiration directly from Japanese dress. Designers at Dior have continued this admiration, with Raf Simons presenting a modernist take on Japanese dress, and Maria Grazia adorning gowns with trailing cherry blossoms and diving birds. At this point, it is becoming difficult for me to suppress my bias. John Galliano has produced some beautiful collections featuring Japanese inspiration, one of them being an origami-inspired collection which featured this stunning garment in particular. Now moving on to China, Christian was not only inspired by their fabrics, but specifically Chinese techniques and references, from capped sleeves to mandarin collars, as seen in his cocktail dress. Such styles were also used by Galliano to incorporate the textiles and wraparound pleats in his creations. More recently, Maria championed red, a significant colour in China and often used by Christian to punctuate his collections, through displaying 5 crimson looks showcased in her Spring-Summer 2018 couture collection. Now, our final destination is Egypt, and this is another one of those times where I can appreciate the subtlety and artistry of Marc Bohan and Maria Grazia, having these careful, detailed inspirations in their dresses. But John Galliano's Egyptian collection is one of my favourite collections. The theatricality and extravagance of the looks is so stunning. Watching models walk in these creations is so entertaining, and to me it really embodies the opulence, poise and regality of Egypt. The next room was so beautifully decorated and embodied Christian Dior's love of his garden. Christian stated flowers were the most divine creations after women, and they provided continual inspiration for his dresses. The garden has remained a popular theme to which successive designers return, from rose motifs to floral embroidery to set design. In the centre of the room we have a beautiful gown by Maria Grazia Chiuri, which actually uses layers of cut and dyed feathers to imitate flowers, scattered across the bodice and skirt. Being able to witness incredibly detailed and precise craftsmanship is the true privilege of this exhibition, and I'm developing a newfound appreciation for Maria's work. Around the edges we can see other examples of this inspiration being translated into fabric. Here, Christian Dior's original dresses used a variety of prints to celebrate his subject matter. Some dresses focus on a particular flower. Here we can see the rose brought to life through beautiful prints and draping. Further on, we can see the textures brought to life through intricate fabric detailing or more extravagant and lifelike pieces. On the left, Raf Simons' dress looks to create a beautiful field of flowers through a pointillism approach. We can also see the deep blue of lilies celebrated in Christian's original pieces and his successors' creations. Once again we see Chiuri and Galliano paired together, and again this speaks to the advantage of the exhibit. In person you're able to see how the textures and patterns on Chiuri's dress are manipulated through a careful and meticulous cutting of threads in the top warp, which speaks to the careful consideration and execution that goes into her pieces. Whilst Galliano's is equally stunning, this piece in particular prioritizes movement through the use of this flowing fabric. And lastly, we have a beautiful Raf Simons and Christian Dior original showcasing the structure and variation in silhouette obtained through these garden designs. The next room focuses on each of the creative directors and their legacy. First, we have Dior's former assistant and first successor, Yves Saint Laurent. He was appointed creative director when he was just 21, yet his first collection was a phenomenal success. Saint Laurent's designs echoed the style of his own generation and presented a slim, elongated silhouette that moved emphasis away from the waistline. His move to create couture inspired by street style caused much commentary from fashion press. Here we have the designs of Marc Bohan, who is actually Dior's longest-serving creative director. He managed to steer the house through the cultural shifts of the 60s, 70s and 80s, whilst his clothes maintained a distinct Dior style that evolved with the times. He prioritized elegant simplicity through a mastery of cut, accents and embellishments. Next we have Gianfranco Ferré, who was an Italian designer and leading light of the Milan fashion world before moving to Dior in 1989. His deep appreciation for textiles and materials allowed him to breathe new life and excitement into the world of Parisian couture. He crafted dramatic structured silhouettes using the finest fabrics and rich embellishment. His strong lines frequently reference the nipped-in waists and large-skirted ball gowns of Dior's new look. Next we have, if you haven't already guessed, my personal favourite, John Galliano, who embarked on a riotous 15-year stint at Dior. Galliano indulged in the possibilities presented by the skills of the Dior haute couture ateliers. He travelled extensively with his design team and researched vicariously, creating eclectic narratives for his shows that drew on varied sources. He transported audiences through innovative set design into immersive new worlds, populated with imaginary characters attired in exquisite and extraordinary designs. Galliano was really known for pushing the definition of haute couture, mixing subversive themes with a vast range of fashion, from contemporary sportswear to lavish embroidery. He represented a world of unparalleled creative decadence and excess, but, as we all know, left the house amid controversy around ignorant and discriminatory behaviour. Next we have the talented Raf Simons, who served a short time as Dior's creative director. Simons maintained a minimalist focus on cut and line, with touches of romanticism and femininity favoured by Christian Dior. Simons continuously referenced the codes of the fashion house throughout his work. His first haute couture collection reinterpreted the new look silhouette, injecting a streamlined modernity that reflected the practicalities of clothes for contemporary women. Simons' designs showed an obsession with detail. He pushed the technical skills of the ateliers with immaculate tailoring and beadwork. Yet despite these intricate construction methods, the clothing remained very wearable and attracted a new, younger generation of clients. Next we have the current creative director, Grazia Chiuri. Chiuri prioritizes the importance of representing a contemporary woman and creates fashion that resembles the woman of today. Throughout her work, she often pulls on inspirations from the house's past collections and inspirational women from the past, such as Freya Stark and Virginia Woolf. Her Dior collections are a result of her appreciation for modern tailoring and romantic evening gowns. Much like Raf Simons, her designs clearly speak to a current generation of consumers and generally lean towards a more wearable and marketable aesthetic. The next room is so stunning and offers a peek behind the curtain at the heart of Dior, the ateliers. These are the workrooms in which seamstresses turn the design ideas into exquisite haute couture garments. The tradition of haute couture demands that garments are made almost entirely by hand and use both traditional and modern techniques, which often means they can take hundreds of hours to complete. So once a design is selected, it is taken to the ateliers to be turned into toile, which is an early version of the finished garment made in a cheaper material, and along the walls you can see all these toile pieces of Dior garments. These prototype garments are usually made in cotton fabric, and this allows the fit, construction and shape to be adjusted and perfected without wasting expensive fabric. Once the toile is deemed satisfactory, fabric and embellishments are made, and the garment can then be fit to a model and shown. Next, we are presented with this long corridor showcase, filled with Dior clothes, accessories and perfumes blocked by colour. This speaks to Christian Dior's emphasis on always having a total look for his clients. From elegant shoes to whimsical perfume bottles, this gallery really showcases the breadth of designs produced by the House of Dior over the past 7 decades. The abundance of items speaks to the amount of work produced by the many creative partners. However, it is also a nod to this idea that many of us may never visit Paris or wear a dress from a high fashion house. Yet there are multiple other avenues through which a consumer can buy into the Dior name and be part of this world and connect to the elegant fantasy that the house sells. In the final room, we are presented with this completely glamorous and decadent setting named the Dior Ball. Christian Dior's evening dresses and ball gowns drew on his love of historic costume. Throughout his life, he loved designing clothes that would be worn at balls and fancy dress parties. Here, he was able to indulge his imagination and showcase the diverse skills of haute couture ateliers. His extravagant creations combined skillful draping, intricate embroidery, and magnificent embellishment with the most luxurious of materials. Dior enthused that evening clothes are the most glamorous and fascinating things a woman can have, as the evening is the time when you escape from the realities of life. Just as his new look had proposed a break from the wartime austerity, Dior's evening gowns often took finery and excess to the extreme. Successive creative directors at the house have continued Christian Dior's enthusiasm for the fantastical and fairy tale. A Dior gown is synonymous with allure, opulence, and demonstrates the formidable talents and techniques of Parisian haute couture. It is therefore no wonder that such striking creations have graced numerous red carpets, as the choice of film stars and prominent personalities over the past 7 years. On the way out, we are presented with this gorgeous final look from Maria Grazia Chiuri's Spring-Summer 2018 collection. Her inspiration came from the 1950s promotional fan for the House of Dior. She translated the pleated paper fan leaf into cascades of pleated tulle and embroidered the skirt with Dior's signature. This piece is a true celebration of the house, where it came from, the elegance and craftsmanship it highlights, and where it is now. Across from this on the wall, we are presented with a montage of looks throughout Dior's history. Ultimately, as someone who came into the exhibition already a devoted fan of Dior, I found this to be such a key learning experience. Not only did I gain a clearer insight into the life and experiences of Christian that shaped him as a designer, but it also helped me appreciate more current collections beyond the flamboyance and theatricality of Galliano that drew me in originally. Seeing the meticulous and innovative craftsmanship that goes into these pieces in person was really inspiring, and I would really encourage anyone who has the opportunity to visit this exhibition. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you tune in next week for more fashion content.